It began, like all great disasters, with a committee. Earthlings, lay down your arms and embrace eternal peace, or be excluded from the Galactic Federation. The voice boomed through the United Nations Assembly Hall, translated simultaneously into 183 languages, and somehow still misunderstood by half the room. Hovering midair was Ambassador Zert of the Galactic Council. 8 glowing eyes, 12 telepathic tendrils, and the quiet confidence of someone who had never lost an argument, until today. He paused, expecting applause. Silence. The only sound came from a man in the back row, noisily unwrapping a burrito. Ambassador Zert cleared his throat, telepathically, of course. I repeat, surrender all weapons, join the Council of Peace, embrace harmony, refuse and face exclusion. And still, nothing. Then a voice. What kind of exclusion are we talking here? Like no space Netflix? Heads turned. At the center table, feet kicked up on a polished mahogany desk, sat General Hank Meat Grinder McAllister. Sleeves rolled up, aviators on indoors. He was sipping a can of Mountain Dew through a curly straw and wearing a tank top that said, "World's Best Dad, also feared warlord." Zert blinked all 8 eyes at once. I mean, Hank continued, if exclusion means y'all stop poking around Area 51 and probing cows, I say we already win, buddy. Snickers rippled across the room. Tried to recover. Let me be clear, General. This is not a negotiation. The Treaty of Universal Disarmament is mandatory for all intelligent life. Oh, well, there's your first mistake, Hank said, grinning. You assumed we were intelligent. A beat. Someone coughed. Someone else giggled. A translator fainted. I mean, Hank added, setting down his drink, we nuked ourselves in the 40s just to see if it'd work. We made a gun that shoots bacon. Our national bird screams while doing backflips. We gave a chimpanzee a rocket and said, "Go nuts, buddy!" Zert's glow dimmed slightly. This is illogical. You're damn right it is. The alien ambassador floated forward, trying to reassert dominance. His translator sphere spun, whirring anxiously. Every species before you has signed the treaty. The Slibians, the Grovaxians, even the mindworms of Sector 9. Peace, cooperation, disarmament. You are the last. Well, Hank leaned in, resting his elbows on the table. Maybe we're just built different. Zert's tentacles twitched. This is insanity. You would choose war over peace? Oh no, Hank said, chuckling. We love peace. We just don't trust anyone who demands we give up the only thing that keeps peace. He reached under the table and pulled out a rubber ducky-shaped flamethrower. The room gasped. Zert recoiled. This is what you bring to a diplomatic meeting? It's non-lethal, Hank said cheerfully, unless you're flammable or allergic to cuteness. The French ambassador fainted. Again, Zert's translator orb was now visibly sweating. This is not how diplomacy works. Hank stood up slowly, still holding the ducky flamethrower. His voice dropped. See, pal, we know how this goes. First, you ask for the guns, then the satellites, then the AI defense grid. Next thing you know, we're trading gold for space coupons and saluting your big, weird jelly flag. We've seen this movie. Zert tried to respond, but Hank wasn't done. You want to know why humans still have weapons? He said, walking around the table now, addressing the whole room. Because peace doesn't come from disarming. Peace comes from being too damn insane to mess with. He pointed at a chart someone had made that just said "war bad" in Comic Sans. Zert, now hovering lower than before, tried one last time. But surely your leaders will listen to reason? They tried. Hank shrugged. But the guy who controls our nukes just got into a Twitter fight with a raccoon. So, a pause. A long, awkward pause. Then Hank added, casually, also, we let the internet name our last warship. It's called the USS Boom Boom Freedom Pants. You still sure we're fit for your peaceful council? Zert blinked. The lights on his hoverpod flickered. You people are not ready for the galactic order. Hank smiled wide. That's what we said about pineapple on pizza. Look how that turned out. The ambassador backed up slowly. I must consult the High Council. Take your time, Hank said, flipping the flamethrower to safety mode. We'll be right here, not disarming. As Zert floated out shaken, the UN hall erupted into chaos. Some delegates argued, others laughed. A few just started filming for TikTok. But Hank just sat back down and cracked open another Mountain Dew and muttered, disarm this. And the rubber ducky gave a defiant little squeak. It started with fireworks, not the metaphorical kind, the literal, blinding, bass-thumping kind. The Galactic Council had sent 12,000 peacekeeping ships to Earth's orbit as a gentle reminder of the consequences of noncompliance. They expected panic, riots, maybe a few desperate surrender messages. Instead, they got Coachella. Within hours, Earth responded, not with missiles, but music festivals, lasers, drone shows. Someone skywrote, "No thank you," in 12 languages across the clouds. And in Florida, because of course it was Florida, someone strapped a pair of leaf blowers to a folding chair, tied on some balloons, and launched himself straight into the sky, yelling, "I declare this airspace freedom zone." The galactic ships hesitated. They had strict orders: maintain orbit, intimidate lightly, avoid direct contact. But nothing in the manual covered rogue humans armed with flaming hula hoops and glow sticks. On day 2, things got worse. A cruiser over Iowa detected ballistic activity. They raised shields, locked targeting systems, and braced for impact. The object hit with a dull splat. A potato, followed by another, and another. Thousands. The Des Moines Middle School Science Club had weaponized their annual potato cannon competition. Spud Strike 2025 had begun. Confused alien officers scanned the debris. The analysis came back. 73% starch, 12% glitter, 15% unexplainable madness. Commander Vrel of Cruiser 709 stared at the report, stunned. "They're launching vegetables at us?" "Should we retaliate?" asked his second-in-command. Vrel didn't answer. He was too busy watching the humans below cheering, chanting something incomprehensible. "Mash or be mashed! Mash or be mashed!" Meanwhile, in Nevada, a group of retired Army veterans and conspiracy theorists had formed the Redneck Resistance Fleet, using RVs, duct tape, and an old radio tower they now referred to as the Signal Spear. When intercepted transmissions leaked, the Galactic Council was baffled to discover the Earthlings were referring to their peacekeeping vessels as giant space Karens. That was the term. Space Karens. Ambassador Zert was losing his mind. He had just returned from Earth's UN hall, covered in mustard from what he assumed was a diplomatic sandwich attack, only to find half his fleet being pelted with jello-filled balloons and glow-in-the-dark stress balls. What is this?" he screeched, pacing in his hover chamber. "This isn't war. This isn't peace. This is a frat party in space." "They are resisting in unconventional ways," one officer admitted. "We can't get a single human leader to respond diplomatically." "Then find their most powerful leader," Zort snapped. The computer searched global networks. It came back with 3 options: a talk show host named Ellen, a sentient AI named ChatGPT, and a man in Texas known only as Big Doug, who ran a Bob Q empire and had 42 million TikTok followers. ZRT screamed in 4 languages. Back on Earth, the situation escalated further. In Berlin, a group of techno DJs hacked into the Council's broadcast frequencies and looped a remix of the peace treaty over a rave beat titled "Drop the Guns, Drop the Bass." In Tokyo, holographic schoolgirls were projected into the sky singing protest songs that made 0 sense but had fantastic choreography. And in Kansas, a single grandmother named Doris took it upon herself to bake an apology pie for the alien visitors. But due to a translation error, the inscription on the crust read, "Surrender now or taste the wrath of Blueberry." It was taken as a threat. 2 cruisers retreated. By day 4, the Council ships were exhausted. Their sensors were jammed by prank signals, their translators overwhelmed by memes, and their cultural database corrupted by an endless loop of Rick rolls. The final straw came when an alien scout ship tried to land outside of Albuquerque and was immediately mistaken for a taco truck. The locals lined up asking for extra guac and offering shiny Earth currency in exchange for those spicy plasma burritos. The scout pilot never recovered. He now runs a small food stand and answers only to the name Paco. Inside the flagship, Ambassador Zert held a crisis meeting. "They don't fear us," he whispered. "They don't even take us seriously. Perhaps we should threaten annihilation? No, that'll only encourage them." Zert stared at the screen, watching a human child throw water balloons at a drone while wearing a tinfoil hat and yelling, "For the Republic of YOLO." The ambassador lowered his head. "We've made a terrible mistake, but the Council still had one last plan. If firepower couldn't work, maybe psychological warfare would. They activated Protocol 9, an indoctrination wave broadcast into Earth's atmosphere designed to pacify primitive minds. Soothing frequencies, hypnotic visuals, ancient symbols of galactic unity. It had never failed. Until now. Because Earth's satellite network glitched at the exact wrong moment and merged the signal with a 24/7 channel called Retro Dance Party. Within minutes, the entire planet began dancing. Military bases, moonwalking. Banks, breakdancing. Churches, twerking. Even the dolphins were doing synchronized flips. Zort watched in silent horror. They're vibing with the indoctrination signal? No, said one trembling officer. They've made it better. And somewhere, on a mountaintop, General Hank lit a cigar, looked up at the chaotic sky, and simply said, "Told ya." Ambassador Zert hadn't slept in 3 rotations. His tendrils twitched uncontrollably. His translator orb had developed a nervous tic. And worst of all, he had started dreaming in Earth memes. This wasn't a peacekeeping mission anymore. It was a psychological horror story. The indoctrination signal had failed, utterly and spectacularly. Instead of pacifying Earth's population, it had triggered what humans called a global block party. Entire continents were raving. New religions had sprung up based on a dance called the intergalactic wobble. One sect in Brazil was now worshipping a holographic moose named Gary, who somehow became an icon of resistance and free love. Zert had seen things no ambassador should see. He stared at a screen showing a group of humans doing synchronized cannonballs into the reflecting pool in front of the Lincoln Memorial, wearing inflatable alien costumes, and chanting, "Take me to your dealer!" He buried his face in his tendrils. This is cultural contamination beyond anything we've ever encountered. High Counselor Gurn's voice crackled through the ship's channel. "Ambassador Zert, status update. Have they surrendered yet?" Zert looked up, eyes wide, voice trembling. "They've evolved, sir, but not in any direction we understand." What does that mean? They absorbed the indoctrination signal, then remixed it into a dance challenge. There was silence on the other end. Zert continued, almost in a whisper. "Sir, they turned our most sacred symbol of unity into a TikTok filter that makes your head look like a banana, and your voice sing 'Never Gonna Give You Up' in falsetto. Dear stars." But it wasn't over. Oh no, because Earth hadn't just resisted, it was now actively counterattacking. How? With confusion. The galactic ships started receiving shipments, actual care packages, no labels, no explanation. One cruiser opened a crate and found 600 rubber chickens, a signed photo of Nicolas Cage, and a note that read, "Good luck, you'll need these." Another received 43,000 packs of mayonnaise. No message, just mayo. One ship tried to scan the contents of a box and accidentally triggered a loop of Baby Shark in 9.1 surround sound. The crew abandoned ship. Zert's own vessel was sent a mysterious USB stick. Against every protocol, he plugged it in. The screen went black. Then text appeared. "Welcome to Earth. Now you're one of us." And then a single video started playing. A man, wearing nothing but a cape made of bacon, standing on top of a pickup truck, screaming into the void, "Yeehaw, baby! Freedom is a flavor!" Zert screamed too. He stormed down the hallway, flanked by confused aides, one of whom was now wearing a cowboy hat and humming country music. This is not diplomacy. This is madness. But something was happening. Something darker. Something worse. The other species in the Galactic Council were starting to enjoy it. The Slibians, once the galaxy's most uptight bureaucrats, had started using human slang. One was overheard calling his superior bro. A Grovaxian delegation installed a hot tub in their command center and now insisted on casual Fridays. The indoctrination wave hadn't failed. It had backfired. Humans weren't being assimilated into galactic culture. Galactic culture was being assimilated into them. Zerti returned to his chamber to find half his crew watching a live stream of a human podcast called Doomsday and Donuts. He snatched the datapad from one. "Why are you watching this nonsense?" The young officer looked up, eyes wide. "They're talking about us, sir. They think we're just lonely space neighbors who need a hug. We vaporized their moon rover." "Yeah, but they forgave us. They said it was based." Zeret staggered back. He knew what was happening now. The Council had miscalculated. They thought Earth was a threat because of its weapons, its wars, its chaos. But that wasn't it. Earth was dangerous because it was contagious. There was no defense against it, no shield strong enough to block it. Humanity's greatest weapon was being absolutely unapologetically insane and enjoying every minute of it. The final confirmation came when one of the AI diplomats from Sector Gamma 9, known for its logic and precision, posted on its official galactic channel, "Lil Mao, Earth, kinda slaps though." Zurt stared at the message for a full minute. He knew. It was over. Not in war, not in surrender, but in a slow, creeping cultural takeover of the entire galaxy. Via memes, via food, via friendship bracelets made from spaghetti. He slumped into his hover chair. We never stood a chance. And far below on Earth, General Hank was barbecuing on the White House lawn, wearing flip-flops and a tinfoil crown. A reporter asked, "General, did we win?" He shrugged. "Don't know. Don't care. I got ribs to flip." He raised his spatula to the sky. "God bless the Earth, and good luck to anyone dumb enough to invade it." And up in orbit, every alien ship slowly, silently backed away. And just like that, they left. 12,000 ships, a trillion credits in peacekeeping hardware, 57 species trained in galactic diplomacy and interstellar warfare. All of them, quietly, awkwardly, pulling back from Earth's orbit, like a bunch of raccoons caught rummaging through a backyard grill. No war, no treaty, no formal goodbye. Just one final broadcast from Ambassador Zurt, voice shaking, eyes wide, tentacles quivering with the unmistakable energy of someone who had stared too long into the chaos of human culture. "To the people of Earth, we wish you well, from a safe distance." And then, static. The fleet vanished in a swirl of FTL jumps, each ship zipping away like it couldn't get out of the solar system fast enough. Back on Earth, nobody really noticed. A few Reddit threads popped up. Some memes were made. One guy tried to sell alien repellent spray on Etsy. But the world mostly just kept going. Because humans, they were already moving on. There was a new dance trend, a new spicy chip challenge, and a viral rumor that Canada had been infiltrated by shape-shifting duck people. Meanwhile, in the Oval Office, General Hank Meat Grinder McAllister was lounging in a hammock between two flagpoles, sipping sweet tea and humming the national anthem through a kazoo. A young intern ran up, holding a stack of papers. "Sir, the aliens! They're gone." Hank didn't open his eyes. "Uh-huh. They left. No invasion, no demands, nothing." "I know. You knew they'd leave?" "Nope." "Then how are you so calm?" Hank took a slow sip and said, "Kid, you ever try to babysit a squirrel with ADHD, a flamethrower, and a Red Bull addiction?" "No?" "That's what it's like trying to control humanity. We ain't built for orders. We're built for chaos with extra cheese." The intern blinked. "But wasn't that dangerous?" "We nearly triggered a galactic war." Hank finally opened one eye. "Yeah, and our counterattack was glitter, potatoes, and interpretive dance. You think they want to come back after that?" He had a point. In fact, all across the galaxy, stories were spreading. Fast. Tales of humans weaponizing sarcasm, deploying karaoke as psychological warfare. Overwhelming tactical AI with memes and contradictory slang like slaps and mid in the same sentence. Some alien leaders refused to believe it. But then, the recordings surfaced. Footage of a group of humans charging a peacekeeping drone in inflatable T-Rex costumes. A video of an entire town defending itself with kazoos and patriotic interpretive ribbon twirling. A live broadcast from a U.S. naval vessel that turned a confrontation into a flash mob rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody. One galactic officer, after watching, whispered, "We didn't just invade a planet, we invaded a frat house built on a nuclear reactor." Back in council chambers, debates raged. Some argued that Earth should be quarantined indefinitely. Others said humanity should be studied from very, very far away. And a few started copying them. A Slibian youth rebellion adopted human fashion, wearing cowboy hats and Crocs to formal meetings. Grovaxian music festivals began featuring Earthcore EDM nights. A new interstellar dating app launched called Beam Me Up Baby, with humans listed as mysterious and unhinged. But the real twist? It wasn't just the galaxy reacting to Earth. Earth never even realized it happened. They didn't know they'd repelled an invasion. They didn't know they'd psychologically dismantled 12 spacefaring civilizations. They were too busy arguing over whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Again. 1 week later, a confused group of diplomats from the Martian colony tried to submit Earth's official response to the treaty. The document they handed over? A stained napkin. On it was a crude drawing of a duck riding a tank, wearing sunglasses, and saying, "No thanks, nerds." The message was clear. Earth respectfully declined. General Hank kept the original napkin framed above his grill. When asked by a reporter if he had any regrets, he scratched his beard and said, "Only that I never figured out how to mount a slingshot on a weather balloon without violating FAA codes." The camera zoomed in. So, what do you think happens now, General? He smirked. Well, either the galaxy learns to leave us alone, or they send another wave of peacekeepers. He looked up at the stars. And if they do, he took a bite of his hot dog, wiped his mouth with an American flag themed napkin, and said, Then I hope they're ready for round two with extra glitter. Because Earth didn't win the war. It confused it, out-weirded it, danced its way through it. And when the universe demanded they surrender their weapons, humanity gave them memes. Loud, chaotic, ridiculous freedom in its purest, most explosive form. The last transmission from the retreating fleet simply read, Never engage again. They are not a civilization. They are a vibe.